Before I start yapping about this whole thing, I just want to say that I actually really enjoy Stygian Onslaught. Obviously, this game mode isn't perfect and there are a lot of glaring problems we all can see, and I'll get to talking about them in a bit, but what I will say is that I do think this game mode is a step in the right direction, and with some much needed adjustments, this could be a very enjoyable game mode for everyone in the community. So let's start with the positive first. I really enjoy how Stygian Onslaught allows for co-op gameplay. There are just so many reasons why enabling co-op gameplay is much more enjoyable than even single-player games. The most obvious reason is that playing games or even spending time with friends is always more enjoyable, and this applies to everything outside of gaming as well. For me personally, I have some friends who recently got back into Genshin but don't have a lot of the Natlan roster, so I enjoy the ability to help my friends gain the primos that they otherwise would not be able to get themselves, whether it be that they aren't high enough level, they don't have the right characters built, or just simply playing to have fun while farming. This in itself is already a reason for players to use co-op, which is something Genshin really hasn't explored much in terms of permanent content. Co-op in itself already fundamentally plays different compared to default single-player Genshin experience. Now it makes sense to have more than one on-field DPS at a time instead of using only supports or off-field / sub DPS characters to enable the active character. And also, depending on the character, they either gain more value, lose value, or stay relatively similar when playing in co-op in comparison to single player, which adds more depth to the whole game while making it more interesting. To me, it feels like a very refreshing experience since we haven't really had a reason to explore or develop any co-op strategies before. Another thing I enjoy about this game mode is how there's much more replayability in it, at least in comparison to Spiral Abyss or the Theater. For those who don't know, Onslaught allows you to spend resin after killing one of the 3 bosses on an artifact domain of your choice. Every 120 resin that you spend in Onslaught gives you an extra artifact drop from the domain of your choice. This is a nice addition since it helps those who are trying to min-max their artifact stats by getting extra drops. It doesn't necessarily raise the chance of you getting good artifacts, that's always gonna stay trash no matter what. It doesn't really increase it by a substantial amount, but it's enough of a reason to help clear it multiple times. Spiral Abyss and Theater both have the same problem of having no reason to play the game mode once you've earned all the rewards. Onslaught stands out since it gives you a reason to play it even after your initial clear. Granted, it only lasts for 10 days, so it would be nice if it lasted even a little bit longer. This is a step in the right direction, but what are the problems that this game mode has and how can we fix them? First, the choice of bosses and their mechanics. It shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone that all 3 bosses are chosen to increase the sales of the current banner characters in this update. This isn't anything new per se, because almost every single gacha game is going to do whatever they can to promote the limited banner characters. That in itself is already frustrating for most players. However, for me, I think the most frustrating part is how the mechanics for Fearless and Dire difficulty make it borderline impossible to clear if you aren't fortunate enough to invest in the right characters. Luckily for me, this wasn't an issue, as I really enjoy horizontally investing in my account, but I've seen so many well-invested accounts, even whales, struggle to clear Fearless difficulty, let alone Dire difficulty as well. I enjoyed Fearless difficulty, but I can completely understand how people get upset by how annoying these mechanics can be. Some of them aren't even new mechanics, but more so increasing the numbers needed to beat said requirement. The best example to explain this would be comparing the Tulpa and the Cryo Automaton to each other. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I like how the Tulpa was implemented much better than the Automaton, since introduced a completely new mechanic. In Fearless difficulty, we need to kill the mini Tulpas, or else they will heal the big guy and enhance his abilities, either by doing enough damage, or which isn't really recommended, or applying enough of the right elements, in this case either Cryo or Dendro. The shield phase is also a new mechanic in which you need to break it in time or otherwise you die. It's also nice that it refreshes all your skill and your ult cooldowns, so it doesn't really feel as tedious to deal with, in comparison to the Cryo Automaton, which essentially forces you to bring 3 Cryo characters. Yeah, that's pretty much the only mechanic changed. The Tulpa fight felt much more engaging compared to the other 2 bosses in my opinion. Honestly, I feel like this game mode would be much more well received if the boss fights chosen were much more generalized in terms of mechanics. Onslaught doesn't punish you nearly as hard as Theater, since Onslaught only needs 12 different characters, whereas Theater you need 20. Nonetheless, Onslaught is very punishing for those who haven't invested in the right characters. So what could Hoyo do to address this problem? In my opinion, I don't think the choice of bosses is necessarily the issue, because if we use the same generalized bosses over and over, the game mode would feel repetitive, stale, and boring. I think these boss fights need to introduce a mechanic that feels more rewarding, rather than making the fight less tedious, if that makes sense. Something similar to the Tulpa mechanic, where it rewards you for good timing by resetting all your cooldowns, rather than feeling like a very large large damage sponge with very high resistances. Using new mechanics makes the game feel fresh, and it's what makes people come back over and over again. Another topic we should talk about is the rewards, specifically the cosmetic ones and how they're handled. First off, it doesn't make any sense for cosmetics to last for a limited time. I don't think I've ever heard of skins having an expiration date before, and those who earn the cosmetics shouldn't have to worry about them going away after a certain period of time. It just doesn't make sense because this is the first time Genshin has ever done this. It just feels so out of place. Also, we need to make some big adjustments to dire difficulty because it's crazy how even whales struggle to complete this. Those who are even able to complete dire difficulty are most likely already going to be able to earn both the 4-star and 5-star skins. We need to add more distinction between who can earn either skins, since whoever can complete them already have both. I say we need to add the 4-star skins to make them slightly more achievable for those who are willing to put in the grind and invest the resources in completing dire difficulty, while keeping the 5-star skins for those who are able to complete it within a shorter time limit. How can we make the 4-star skins slightly more accessible while not making it feel like a free handout to everyone who even attempts this? Here's my proposal to address this, and it's pretty simple. I say we increase the time limit for dire difficulty on top of the whole mechanic talk we just had. This way, it can remain as a build and optimization check for those who are willing to challenge themselves while having the knowledge to actually understand the mechanics, while being slightly more forgiving about the time limit. I don't exactly know how much longer the timer should be, but it's something Hoyo should adjust since there isn't really much difference between those who can get the 4-star and 5-star skins. Completing dire difficulty is already a very big accomplishment in itself, so I think it's appropriate for you to be able to earn the 4-star skin by optimizing your builds. I also think it's fine to keep the 5-star skins locked behind a smaller completion window, since it's not like the skins are vastly different anyways. I'm not saying these skins should be a free handout item everyone should receive for even attempting dire difficulty. It definitely should be something you feel proud to earn, something to flex, you know? This isn't the only possible solution. I'm sure there are many of them out there, but this is the easiest solution that I could think of by myself, so what do you guys think they should change? Overall, I think Stygian Onslaught is a step in the right direction. However, I think Hoyo needs to make some major adjustments for it to be enjoyable for everyone. I personally really enjoyed the game mode, even though I can't imagine myself attempting dire difficulty. Regardless, I can understand where people are coming from about not enjoying it as much as I do. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you have any ideas of what they can change to make Onslaught more enjoyable, feel free to leave a comment. Remember to sub and like if you enjoyed, have a good night and day wherever you're at, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace and take care, have a good one.